Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. This is Mr. Mott. I'm going to go through how a density column works and explore some ideas about density. So I've got some vegetable oil I'm going to pour in here. It's kind of a pale yellow liquid, maybe. Alright, it's got some vegetable oil in there. Next, I'm going to pour some antifreeze. Okay. Antifreeze is usually like a neon green or yellow color. What we can see here is that even though I poured the antifreeze on top of the vegetable oil, the antifreeze actually went and formed a layer below it. Okay, let's see, that's a better picture. And now I'm going to try some Karo syrup. Further exploring, does the order in which I pour these impact how they form layers? There's some thick Karo syrup. Alright. So, the Karo syrup is also kind of a pale yellow color. And you can kind of see, hopefully in the picture there, the Karo syrup is actually forming a layer below the antifreeze. And even though it's a little bit tricky to see with the base of the graduated cylinder, you actually see the layer of antifreeze kind of moving up because the Karo syrup actually formed a layer below it. Okay. Next, we're going to pour some transmission fluid. Okay. And transmission fluid is a nice red color. Okay. So we got a little bit of a transmission fluid there, and the transmission fluid actually, even though I poured it last, actually stayed on top. But it didn't pour. Again, it didn't stay on top there because I poured it last. It stayed on top because of its density. Okay. I also kind of did that because I know that if I had poured it earlier, transmission fluid and the vegetable oil, right? Transmission fluid and vegetable oil here, they tend to mix together and dissolve in each other. So I sort of knew that, and so to make things a little bit easier to see, I poured that in last. Now, what I can also do is put some water in here and see how that would layer out. So, I got my squirt bottle of water, and we can kind of see little droplets of water forming, and how it goes through the layers. So some of the red color looks like it's maybe kind of bleeding through a little bit and kind of carried away a little bit, but it looks like it's going back up to the transmission fluid. And so right now, as it kind of layers out, we have the syrup, we have the antifreeze. This is going to be our layer of water once everything kind of moves around. We're going to have vegetable oil and transmission fluid. Okay. Now, so what we can take away from this is that when liquids are poured together in a density column, they're going to settle out according to their densities. Alright? And now what I'm going to try to show you is a paper that illustrates the idea about, okay, now that's the qualitative idea that they settle out by their densities, but what are those densities? Okay? So here are some notes that we took the other day in class, and I'm going to kind of walk you through it. So it's a lot all at once to see, but this is sort of the idea. All right. So what I did is I wrote down, my picture of a density column, and I wrote down the order in which we had the liquids. And again, what I can do is put this next to it and see. And so we had transmission fluid at the top and syrup all the way in the bottom, and then I wrote down the densities that are common for these chemicals. All right. So and so what we notice is that they layer out according to the least dense down to the most dense, and that's going to happen no matter which fluids that you choose. Okay. Now we can also figure out the density of an unknown based on how it would settle out in a density column. So let's say I took a rock, which I have colored in kind of a blue there, and dropped it in. It settled in between water and antifreeze. Okay, we know that so that more dense things tend to sink. So this rock sank down and it sank in water. Okay, and so we know that that rock is more dense than water. However, it was settling on top of the antifreeze, so that means that it's less dense than the antifreeze. Alright, so what we can say is that the density of that rock is between 1.0 and 1.1, the densities of water and antifreeze. Okay, we cannot be specific and say it's the average of those densities, just that it's somewhere in between them. Alright. So that's how a density column works, both qualitative and quantitatively. I hope this was useful.